Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. First off, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. With me, this is a case coming from Fractal Design, known as North. And I'd like to thank Fractal Design to have provided this case for me and to share it with you. I'll first start off with the build of the case itself. When I unbox this, the feeling is very sturdy. And I like the fact that they have round corners at the top and at the bottom. And I'm amazed with the feed. Looks like an audio kind of feed, or should I say, an amplifier, where you have this gold ring over here. Now, over at this side, you will have a very dark tinted glass, followed by this panel over here. If you intend to place ARGB lights, or should I say, fans inside the case itself, right, when it shines, it will definitely show through the glass itself. If not, if you are doing a selfie look, it will be all black. It will give you a very elegant look. And this panel over here, right, is meant for you to cover up whatever you have placed inside the case, as in like the fans or the radiator. Well thought of. Over at the front, you will be ushered with a very nice finish. This is made of walnut and it's in strip. And with this strip, right, a brilliant idea whereby air will just go through freely. Over at this side, you have a black panel whereby it covers up your cable management and your cutouts inside the case. At the rear here, I would like to pay more attention about this, whereby it's something very unique. First off, with this section over here, this is meant for your motherboard I/O cutout, and this is for your PSU, whereby you can take this bracket off. So by removing this bracket itself, right, you can just place your PSU on this bracket and to slot it in. It's just like how you slot your hard disk into the hard disk cage. Very thoughtful. And why I say this is very thoughtful, cause you don't have to, if this is fixed, you don't have to feather your adjustment of the PSU inside the case, which is sometimes very troublesome. Now, looking at the expansion slot itself, there are a total of 7. And if you look closely, right, all these brackets here, in fact, they are unified cutouts. I mean, this is mesh. This is mesh also. It provides more ventilation for the case, whereby you push all the hot air in the case out. Now back to the PCIe slot. Why I say it's unique, because if you were to populate 2 slot or 3 slot, you still be able to mount a fan at the bottom to do exhaust or intake. So if you do apply 2 slots, you can mount a 80 mm fan. If you apply 3, you'll be able to mount 60 mm or even 40 mm fans. And over at this side, right, same thing, unique way. It doesn't have a prominent fan hole, but of course the top section over here, you'll be able to mount a 120 mm fan. At the bottom over here, right, you can put additional 2 more 40 mm fans. Now, to remove off the panels of both sides, the tinted glass, and over here is secured by thumb screws at the side, which is here. And when you're removing, right, on the tinted glass, make sure you hold on the tinted glass, slide to the back, then remove. Same apply to the other end. Remove the thumb screws, pull, and to take it out. To place back the tempered glass panel and the back panel, which is from here, there are 3 holes at the bottom of the case on each side. All you need to do is just to align this catch over here. There are 3 on each panel. Align them, then push it in. The side panel over here can be removed. It's removed by this thumb screw. Unscrew it and to push it to the back, and you can just take it out. To place it back, there are 2 caches over here. Make sure you sit it at the bottom first, align it, then push this in, then put it in place and to lock it with a thumb screw. To remove off the front bezel itself, there is a hole at the bottom. Just tuck your finger in and pull from the bottom, and this whole thing will come out. And at the back itself, there is this fan filter where you can remove off, see, to clean your dust before you place it back. And it's pretty straightforward. Now, to place this bezel back, align these 2 notches at the top. Do not use force. Gradually, and tuck from the bottom, and this is in place. Now, before I show you the top itself, right, there is a fan mesh filter at the bottom. where you can slide it out. This is whereby the PSU is sucking all the cool air from the exterior, where all the dust will be collected over here. So we can just wash, take it out, wash, and to place it back. At the top, you have this I/O control panel, whereby you can see all this are gold plated, inclusive of the socket itself. First off, you have the power button, followed by the headphone jack, followed by the microphone jack, 2 USB 3 port, and a Type-C port. Now at the top, this is all mesh. And to remove this top panel, there is this leather over here, whereby you just pull and you can remove. As mentioned, this is all mesh. To place back the top cover itself, this is what you need to do, whereby you have 2 catch over here, align it to the 2 holes at above, and push in. The measurement of this case itself from here to here is in fact 435 millimeter, and the height from the bottom of the feet all the way to the top, this is 470 millimeter. If you wouldn't count the feet itself, from the base of the case to the top is 450, and the width from here to here is 215 millimeter. The layout of the interior is very straightforward and simple, based on the fact that this is a small tower case. First impression when I remove off the tempered glass, it's very dark. Based on the color theme, charcoal black, which I like. Now, you probably might need to shine some torch on it or work under the light so that you can see what you have placed the components at the certain areas. Next thing I noticed is that when you press the PSU strap itself, it's very sturdy, it doesn't wobble, it doesn't flex, which is good. On my lower left, this is a logo, Fractal, which is embedded on the strap itself, which is not over exaggerating, which is good. Now, this case itself enable you to mount a ATX motherboard, an MATX motherboard, or a ITX motherboard. Do not place an eATX motherboard due to the fact that it will hit your rubber grommets over here. Now, for the fan arrangement itself, at the bottom you can't mount any fans. At the front, you'll be able to mount 320mm fans or 240mm fans. Speaking of which, it does come with pre-installed fans, which are 2 aspect 14 PWM fans coming from Fractal, and the specs are as listed over here, which is 0.24 ampere, 12 volts, and the max RPM is 1700. Now at the top, you'll be able to mount 220mm fans or 240mm fans. As for the rear, as I mentioned, a 120mm fans. If you're using an air cooler in this case itself, make sure you have enough height clearance, as from the base of this case to the side panel itself is 170. So I would advise you, the air cooler, make sure it doesn't go beyond 165mm. Don't take it as 170, you will fit nicely. No, you need to give some margin of error. So best is to stick it as 165 and below. Now as for AIO, kindly ignore this Arctic liquid freezer, which I'm going to explain to you why I placed this here. For the front, you'll be able to mount a 240, a 280 and a 360 AIO. At the top, you'll be able to mount a 120 and a 240, but not a 280. Reason being, right, if you to mount the 280 itself, the width, right, is in fact touching the standoffs of your motherboard. So there will be clearance issue on the VRM on a 280 AIO. So at the top, make sure it's only at 120 or 240. Now, speaking of which, I'm deliberately making use of Arctic. Why am I showing you this is because it's amazing. You can fit a 280 AIO coming from Arctic, which is 38mm thick, plus the fans itself, right, total of 63. As you can see, it didn't hit. So you can place it nicely. And best part, at the front, yes, I did close it deliberately. Why? You can do a push-pull configuration. As you can see, because this fans here, right, does not protrude out. In fact, it's, you know, fixed in, as you can see over here. So you can do a beautiful push-pull configuration, not an issue. And to have your front bezel covered. You might be saying, hey, since I can put a push-pull configuration on an Arctic liquid freezer 2 with a 280, I can do it with a 360. No, you can't. If you were to place a Arctic 360 liquid freezer 2, now this slot over here, right, you can't slot your fan at all. If you do take closer look, right, see, This is not even 25mm tall, and you can't fit in at all. But you can do a single push configuration whereby you mount this fan on the other side. Not an issue. For GPU placement, there is a limitation in this case itself. The length from this PCIe slot all the way to the tray over here, and if you intend only to place fans, the length from here to here is 370mm. If you intend to place radiator, and with thick radiator like R-thick itself, you left only 300mm in length. This is the other side of the panel itself, where you expose the cable management area. I'll start off with the 3 Velcro stripes on my left. These 3 Velcro stripes are meant to hold down the front I/O cables, which are routed and to be plugged to your motherboard. Or you can make use of this Velcro stripe to tie down the 24-pin cable coming from your PSU and to be routed over here, then to be connected to your motherboard. There are a total of 14 cable ties, 2 at the top, 2 at the side, 3 at the bottom, 6 over this section over here, and 1 at the middle. Right at the bottom here, this is a hard disk caddy for you to mount a 2.5-inch SSD, in fact 2. And in order to mount your SSD, you will need to remove the caddy by unscrewing this thumb screw, and this is the caddy. So we can mount 2 SSD. Now the thing is that once you have mounted the 2 SSD, right, by the way, it's fastened by screws from the back so that it will hold your SSD. The thing is that when you place this and it's working, imagine that you need to take out one SSD drive, right? You will need to take out the whole caddy, which I find that it's rather troublesome. Right at the bottom of the cable management area, where you see this hole over here, on the right, this is meant for you to place your power supply, and towards the front there are 2 more additional hard disk cage. And for this hard disk cage itself, right, each you can mount a 3.5-inch hard disk or a 2.5-inch SSD. Same apply to the second hard disk cage. Now, if you want both hard disk cage to be in front, the length of a PSU from here to here, make sure it's not more than 160mm in length. If you intend to place a longer PSU, you can remove one of the hard disk cage, meaning to say you only left with 1 cage for 1 hard disk of each 3.5-inch or 2.5-inch. Then you'll be able to mount a longer PSU, which is above 160 or maybe 200, up to you. However, there is another option. If you want to make use of 2 3.5-inch, the first caddy which I remove off, flip it over where you can hook at the top. Then using this thumb screw, fasten to the top. See, this is done. So you can place 2 3.5-inch hard disks and to place a longer PSU, but there is a limitation. From this length from here to here is 180. So you can't place a 200mm length PSU. Now this situation only apply to when you are having fans at the front and not with radiator. If you have radiator, not a problem. What you can do is remove the front cage and to readjust the alignment. As you can see here, there are slots over here for you to align your hard disk cage. So if you were to place a radiator, the fan would not be a problem, it's just that the radiator. So if you were to place a radiator and it's blocking, what you need to do is just to shift the caddy, or should I say the cage, to a next location. See? You will give ample space. So you can make use of a 180 PSU with a radiator. In order for the top I/O to function, you will need to connect all these I/O connectors to your motherboard. Starting off with the power switch itself, as you can see the connector over here, it says power switch and power LED. Make sure you plug this to your motherboard. And when you power up the system itself, right, you're supposed to get a ring light on the power button. Next will be the audio, whereby you have the headphone jack and the microphone jack. Plug this audio cable to your motherboard again, followed by these 2 Type A USB port, where you connect this to your motherboard. And last but not least, a Type C socket, and this to be plugged again to your motherboard. Now, with this case itself, it does come with a accessory package whereby these are all the accessories, the screws and such. And the content of it, you have total of 16 mounting screw. This is meant for your motherboard and for some other tie downs, I should say. Next will be 8 mounting screws for your SSD, then followed by 4 screws for your power supply, and this 2 over here is meant for your 3.5-inch hard disk. The rubber grommets is meant for anti-vibration, so when you slot this screw into the rubber itself and to screw on the 3.5-inch hard disk, right, then to mount on the cage itself, it will prevent vibration. Now there are a total of 8 screws and 8 rubber grommets, followed by 4 zip ties. Before I share with you my thoughts about this case, if you like what you have watched, you like this case, you wanted to purchase this case, and if you're here in Singapore, good news. There is a special promotion at this shop known as Cypher from now till next year, January 6. The price of this case in this shop is 225 Sing dollars. If you were to purchase off from his shop, you will get a $25 rebate for your next purchase at the same shop. Now, if you were to purchase at Shopee itself, you will be given a $25 Shopee voucher. In order to purchase this case from his shop, there are 3 methods. First, you can contact him through this cell phone number for operating hours at 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Or you can join his Telegram community, or you can purchase at his Shopee at this URL. I will leave all this URL and the contact at my description so that you can contact him or to purchase directly from his shop. Now, speaking of which, this Telegram is in fact his community, whereby I'm also inside this community. If you guys got any questions about PC and related stuff or issues that you encountered, you can join this community and to chat with us. My thought about this case itself, the impression is very good. Now, I like the fact that it's rounded at each corner from the top and the bottom. And next will be the power switch and all the sockets. They are metal and it's coated in gold. Moving from the side, the interior is spacious. I don't think I have a problem fiddling with all the parts. Now, one good point about the PCI brackets itself, if I am to mount the first 3 brackets or the first 2 brackets itself, at the bottom I'm able to cater for another fan which is 80 mm, 60 mm or even 40 mm. That is to draw cool air in or to dissipate all the hot air out. Same goes to the back itself. As you can see, there are no dedicated fan holes whereby you make use of all these slits to place your fan. At the top, as usual, 120 mm fans. At the bottom, you can place 2 more At the bottom, you can place 2 more 40 mm fans. And I would say that if you were to build liquid AIO or air cooler, this case will not fail you. Reason being, right, the front intake itself, you see there are big gaps, so there are plenty of air going to the case interior and to dissipate from the exterior, whereby, as mentioned, the back are full of mesh. At the front over here, yep, it's very nice. This is walnut. I like to emphasize this. Thank you, Fractal, for saving the trees. Why do I mention about this? I do have past experience as a kitchen cabinet finisher. As you can witness the video at my left, and I'll leave the URL at my top. Now, I do know how to read grains and such. Now, these wood grains from walnut are not really the top grade. In fact, there are 3 sections of a tree. For example, this tree itself, right, they have the root, they have the trunk, the limb, followed by the branches. Now, the trunk section is whereby most important part of the tree itself to produce kitchen cabinets, drawers, and those shelves, those doors, and of course for furniture. Now, next part will be the limb itself, whereby it's made use of doing simple chest box and such, followed by the branches. Now, these are taken off from the branches. Why do I say this? At the most top of the tree itself, where you get lots of sunlight, this is whereby pigmentation, as in like ununified grains, because it's like dark, light, things like that, all the shades. So if you would to see this as a one piece, right, not strip, it will be very ugly once you do the top coat. And naturally, as mentioned, Fractal have saved these branches. If not, they will be put to waste. So a brilliant idea, placing all this at the front. It does make it look stylish. So that's all I got to say about this front over here. Alright, I'd like to thank Fractal for passing this case to me and to share with you guys, and also to Arctic with all the AIOs to show you exactly what the radiator can be mounted in the case itself. For those of you who are actually new to my channel, welcome to my channel, and you like my content, do remember to subscribe and to click on the notification bell button. Till then, take care, goodbye, see ya.